What up, world? Welcome to the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Wright, coming to you from the beautiful and spring-like confines of Atlantic City, New Jersey. Wherever you may be watching or listening, I thank you as always. Like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel. You can check the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Substack, Patreon, Trovo, and as well as on Podbean. Happy to be here with you on this beautiful Wednesday morning on May 7th, 2025, delivering this NFL content for you. This episode is going to be dealing with breaking news that dropped wee hours this morning with George Pickens going to the Dallas Cowboys. Also, I'd already been building this episode up for a couple days. A lot of this information is going to be pretty athletic. Some familiar names, Diana Rossini, names of that sort. So definitely going to be jam-packed episode. Going to definitely drop this for you early this morning. I'm happy to be here with you as always, guys. And before we go any further, definitely want to make sure we shout out one of the friends of the show. If you get any chance, guys, I definitely implore you to check out in the description box of this video. Right now, I don't know if you guys have known. If you're new to the show, definitely don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. However, now that we have a new friend of the show, which is PlayStation, Sony PlayStation. So if you're looking to get a PlayStation 5 or you're looking to get a bundle package or new accessories, definitely check within the link in the description box of this video. Sony PlayStation, more than a game. Looking to get out this weekend, looking to take your spouse out, have a great time with some friends, then look no further than the #1 leading ticket seller and reseller in the world, StubHub. #1 seller in the world for live events, tickets, shows, and concerts, StubHub. So guys, happy to be here again with you on this beautiful Wednesday morning. A lot of information dropped. I don't know about you guys. I was asleep enjoying the morning. Kids was getting ready for school. And then all of a sudden, in the slew of emails that I was going through this morning, I get the message, George Pickens is going to the Dallas Cowboys. If you guys have not already seen, I already have a video, a short that I dropped talking about this. Please implore you to definitely check it out. And also be a link in the description of this video that'll have a relation to it, so that way you can check everything out in full. But this was major news. Dallas, I'm going to touch on both aspects on both sides, and also touch on Aaron Rodgers news, the news with the tush push, some of the other NFL news and notes that were surrounding the draft that we didn't get a chance to talk about on previous episodes. So first things first, starting with the major news of the morning. George Pickens is a Dallas Cowboy. We had known since pretty much the end of the season, with the end of the season interview, if you guys remember after the playoff game, George Pickens spoke pretty candidly, pretty frankly, actually, and contritely about, not really feeling the offense in Pittsburgh and not really feeling the situation there. We knew there was a lot of rumors throughout the offseason that he was potentially going to get traded. Didn't really know how things were going to shape out, if things like that were going to happen or take place. However, they did. So that being said, now he is a Dallas Cowboy. Essentially, here are the details of the trade. So in exchange for Pickens, Pittsburgh will receive a 2026 third-round pick and a 2027 fifth-round pick. So there's an additional compensation for Pittsburgh in this. Along with Pickens, the Cowboys will receive a 2027 sixth-round pick. So that's that beans for beans trade, making sure everything averages out. Previous trade talks, which began before the draft, stalled between the teams as the Cowboys only offered a fourth-round pick. So, as usual, Jerry trying to be cheap and lowball the Steelers, seeing how badly they wanted to get rid of them. Steelers knew how desperate the Cowboys were, and they did the right thing. But yeah, and shout out to Bobby Belt. He was the one that actually dropped this news early in the morning. He was the one that said the Cowboys have been working the phones on potential receiver trades and had begun to zero in on Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver George Pickens. That was 6 o'clock this morning, but that was Dallas time, 7 o'clock a.m. Eastern time where I'm located. So major news. What does this mean for the Dallas Cowboys? Well, this is great news for Dallas. Let's just state it for what it is. They didn't have a second wide receiver whatsoever. That was the #1 question going into OTAs and workouts. Like, well, you went through the offseason, you went through the draft, and you didn't get a damn receiver. So who's the receiver? This obviously answers that question. Now, it's interesting because George Pickens is also in the final year of his rookie deal. So he's definitely going to be looking for a new contract. I'm pretty sure. Now, this is the Cowboys. We can't guarantee anything. But I'm pretty sure when you make a trade of this substantive or a substantial size, you're definitely going to have a contract extension already in the books or being worked out. I'm pretty sure that's something, one of the parameters that was being discussed. That being said, it's, to me, this is one of the best moves the Cowboys have made in a long time. You definitely needed this. A guy like this, he's young. You could pay him early, lock him up now. He's not going to cost you a shitload of money. He's going to cost you, but he's not going to cost you CeeDee Lamb money. So there's a way to work this out. He's a proven 1,000-yard receiver. He can get open. He definitely helps create separation on the outside. He definitely is a deep threat too at times. So this is magnificent for Dallas. Offensively, you could not have gone out there. You already know the running back situation is a question mark. You know the offensive youngest line, and that's still a question mark in places. You know Dak's coming back. He's coming back off injury. How well will he play? So there's a lot of question marks. This is one solid that you know is there. You got CeeDee Lamb on the outside. You got Pickens there with Dak. Things should work out pretty well with that. The other side to it, though, if you're Dallas, he's a fucking malcontent. He's a fucking malcontent. We all know the escapades with him and Mike Tomlin within the media and the little comments he was making about not getting the ball. And it was well documented how he didn't like how his production had dropped this past season. So there's things to consider. There's things to consider. And you had to really see the writing on the wall. The moment Pittsburgh acquired DK Metcalf, it was clear that there was no way in hell George Pickens was going to stay there, compounding with the rumors that were going on in the background. So if you're Dallas, you're ecstatic. Like I said, the new contract, that's going to be a question. How much is he going to get paid? Where does his new money average? Where does his new contract fall? Obviously giving up that type of compensation, because again, I stress emphasis, I highly doubt that the Dallas Cowboys would give up compensation like this and not have a contract being worked out. So kudos to the Cowboys. They got something right for the first time in a few off seasons in a long time. Free agency wise or trade wise. So got to give them credit for this. As far as the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's not doom and gloom if you're Pittsburgh either. If you're Pittsburgh, you got the albatross from around your neck. It was clear that his immaturity had become a problem. It was very clear that he didn't believe in the offensive philosophy of things. And we know Mike Tomlin's old adage, I need volunteers, not hostages. So we already knew where this was going. The moment he spoke out in the media, and the moment you got, Tomlin, you guys can see here on the screen, you got the quote from Tomlin saying how he needs to grow up. I mean, right was pretty much on the fucking wall. And then you got questions about, make no mistake, when they're getting rid of a guy, that's when you start hearing all the bad shit about what's really going on and what they were really doing. And the point of this is, one of the major things they didn't like about with George Pickens was his work ethic. They felt like his work ethic lacked. He knew he was good. He knew he didn't have to really work as hard. He knew he was going to be he was destined to be that guy. So he just didn't really aspire as hard as he could. That being said, I also agree with George Pickens that the offense was definitely flawed. There was definitely things that could have been fixed, that could have went better. That being said, though, if you're Pittsburgh, you have a history of drafting wide receivers. You guys, I mean, let's be real. From Yancey Thigpen all the way up until now. I mean, hell, if you really want to go back, you can go back to the 70s with Stallworth and Lynn Swann. You guys find wide receivers. You find them. So this is no loss. The Steelers, this has become a ritual with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They did this with Antonio Brown. They did this with Santonio Holmes. They did this with Emmanuel Sanders. They did this with Hines Ward. They did this with Antoine Randall. They did this with Plaxico Burress. I can keep going on the list. So this does not shock me anything by any stretch of the imagination by the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're going to get the pick that they used to get them. They got that back, and they got later compensation. Now they had to give up something because when the team knows you're desperate, they're gonna rape you. That's how it works. But you're dealing with the Cowboys, so we all know Jerry's a little senile. So fair trade on both parts. But most importantly, Pittsburgh. Now you got DK. Looks like you're gonna have Aaron Rodgers in the fold. Got to see what one of them other young guys show up and develop, which, again, as I just previously stated, I'm pretty sure one of them will, because that's typically the history of the Steelers. But essentially, this was a great move. I think both teams needed this. especially being the fact that you think about how some of these picks really just haven't worked out for the Steelers. I mean, most recent one comes to mind is Chase Claypool. Deontay Johnson, he didn't work out. God knows he's just floating around the damn NFL now. But it's, you do have Calvin Austin there. You do have Robert Woods. Now, Robert Woods is like old as shit now. I think he's maybe 200 years less older than Adam Thielen. So, he's there as veteran. And you got Ben Skoranek. So, and they got Scotty Miller, and, we all know Scotty Miller from Tampa Bay Buccaneers fame with Tom Brady catching, deep passes. It's one of those situations where ultimately they're going to see what guys step up with Metcalf. They're going to try to definitely draft and develop a guy going into the next offseason, 2026 offseason. But, I definitely think that they're still going to sign a veteran. I just don't think that they're comfortable with just that lineup. Now, out there on the free agency market, as it shows here, there's Keenan Allen still out there. I could definitely see that happening. Amari Cooper, I don't see that happening. Odell Beckham Jr., definitely don't see that happening. DJ Clark, Tyler Boyd, maybe. Kadarius Toney, hell no. So, I definitely think they're going to have to probably make another trade. They're definitely going to have to probably make another trade. See what team has a wide receiver that, they're willing to get off of, or, maybe coming up on a contract year and they know they're not going to pay him. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to just throw this out there. This might be a hot take. If I'm the Steelers, there's no guarantee the Lions would even do this, but I would see if they give up Jameson Williams. Give up a high pick and see if they give up Jameson Williams and see what happens. Just a suggestion. That being said, though, we're going to go a bit further. Now, going in further NFL news, there's a lot going on right now with the schedule release and tushpush and a lot of things of that nature. But we're going to start with Aaron Rodgers. Now, as you just heard me previously mention, talking about the Steelers and Cowboys with that big trade with George Pickens, the Steelers are ultimately in autopilot mode. They're pretty much relaxed. They expect Aaron Rodgers to pretty much come in and become the guy at some point. They're not really worried. I think they have like a soft deadline. I believe they said of like around June, which if you technically think end of May, June, it's around, OTA time. So makes sense. However, this whole dynamic situation is weird. I mean, I get it. He's an older quarterback. You want him to see his options. And I remember he said on McAfee, he had family situations going on, things he needed to take care of and handle, whatever that may mean. That, it means what it means. However, I just think that it's very awkward. I've never seen the Steelers in this type of situation, but desperation breeds this type of behavior. I mean, again, if you're a Steelers fan, you have to know that this is a complete sign of pressure on the organization to succeed. Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan know they have to get this right. They have not drafted the quarterback that we all necessarily thought would have come in to help them in this situation. Now, they did grab Will Howard late in the draft. We'll see. I mean, Will Howard, coming from Ohio State, obviously just won a national title with the Buckeyes. We'll see, what he develops into, but they have not really inspired confidence. They got Mason Rudolph on the roster right now, and they keep trying to feed people that bullshit of, oh, well, we're comfortable if we have to put him out there. They're not really comfortable if they have to put him out there. They're not. Don't let them lie to you. They really are bullshitting you on that. They're just saying that because they got to feed the media some bullshit to get you to shut up. So it's going to get crazy. It's going to get crazier, but I just ultimately feel like right now that whole situation is just goofy, but at least now they got Pickens out of their hair. Looks like Aaron Rodgers will be joining them within a few weeks, so we shall see. Going down to Atlanta, the Kirk Cousins situations has gotten as goofier as it possibly can get. Obviously, we all know, and the world knows, it was a mistake for them to sign him to that contract after drafting Michael Penix. I highly doubt I highly doubt Kirk Cousins would have signed with the Atlanta Falcons if he knew they had an idea of drafting a quarterback. I know Raheem Morris and Terry Fontenot had previously said, I reported on it on the show, I don't think it's true. I don't think it's accurate. I don't think they really had an idea of what they were doing. I think they saw Michael Penix and they said, hey, we like this kid, we should draft him. I think that's honestly what happened. But right now, Kirk Cousins wants to be a starter. He's not going to be a starter. He has to wait. The situation, draft just got done not even a week ago. Teams are kind of comfortable with their rosters as is of right now. But he's getting paid a lot of money to be a backup. So in my opinion, he's bitching for no reason, but nonetheless. As you guys can see here, it says Cousins remains with the organization, will operate as QB2 during OTAs. Cousins' situation is likely far from resolved. However, the Falcons could still wind up moving him for the right price. Could the Steelers come calling if Rodgers decides not to join them? I can honestly tell you now, I think that's a hell no. I don't see that happening at all. If you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, let's just say for any fucking reason, Aaron Rodgers says, I don't want to go there. I don't know how in the hell Kirk Cousins helps you. You're going from less mobile Aaron Rodgers, but still with a live arm, to noodle arm, no mobility Kirk Cousins. I don't know how that really helps you. That just it's a mute point. There's things that they could do because the Saints is out there. They got Tyler Shuck with the Derek Carr situation. The Vikings. I think the Vikings are pretty much fully invested in JJ McCarthy. They're going to allow him the opportunity to show he could play. But I honestly think Kirk Cousins, and I've said this on a previous broadcast, I think Kirk Cousins needs to be comfortable with just being a number 2. Your wife's family's from Alpharetta. You've already got the house down there. You've already got the land down there. I get it. You want to still be a starting quarterback. Dude, you're a fucking mercenary. Thank your agent for the check. Thank him for the business move. Sit the fuck down. You look like shit last year. I don't know anyone in their right mind, again, who was going to sit there and say, you know what, I really got to sign Kirk Cousins. It's of dire need for Kirk Cousins to be on my roster. I'm pretty sure, God forbid, through injury, some teams would probably think, okay, well, he's better than, the guy we got there. But in that case, in that situation, that tells me you as a GM didn't really prepare or evaluate properly. And the situation is so bad that you kind of got to hope that your quarterback doesn't get injured, because if you got to rely on Kirk Cousins, you're fucked. It's just that simple. Go on a bit further. We're going to go to San Francisco. We're going to talk about the Brock Purdy contract. Now, Brock Purdy's, I've watched John Lynch's interview with Chris Sims the other day on Chris Sims' Unbuttoned podcast. If you guys haven't checked that out, definitely check it out. It's a good show. We all know Chris Sims is well documented for saying that he's friends with John Lynch, and that he and John Lynch, spoke, at length. I think they spoke for about almost 15 minutes. A lot of things was going on during the interview. It was fire alarm going off, and it was think cloud pop. There was a bunch of damn different things that was going on during the interview. But what was hilarious, what I think was so hilarious though, was when he got to the part of asking him about the Brock Purdy contract. And essentially, John Lynch, kind of hit him with the, company line of, we really don't discuss contracts yet. We're working on it. We want Brock to be our quarterback, blah, 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 blah. So, that being said, I think everyone's kind of freaking out because, I think there is some substantive rumors, the truth to the rumors, I should say. I do think he's going to get somewhere close to 50. What that means for the 49ers going forward, I think it's very self-explanatory. Their roster, in their words, retooling their roster. So when you're retooling your roster and you have a $50 million quarterback, unless this year, when that new contract comes in, unless this year is still the old money he's getting from the previous deal, which again doesn't really help you going into next year. It's really how long you can delay that onset from the new money contract coming in, so that way you can have time to really add more talent to the roster. Because to be honest, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan both said it both. They had to get younger. You got your core guys still there. You got your Trent Williams, you got your Kittles, you got your Fred Warners, you got your used checks, you got your core 49ers during this Kyle Shanahan era. So you got the guys that's going to come in there, the young guys coming in there from the draft that's going to be, coached up on how to be a 49er, how to be elite, how to, really, hone your skills and do what is required for this team. That being said, though, I would not tell anybody that it's going to take them a long time, because hell, everybody assumed with the young guys that we drafted last year, it's about with the Eagles, that it was going to take a long time. Didn't take long at all. So it really depends on how well you coach them up and how well and fast they develop. But essentially, if I'm San Francisco, what option really do you have? You can't lowball this guy. I know people don't really like to subscribe to this belief or this thought process, but he saved the 49ers. He did. Christian McCaffrey played a huge part. But Brock Purdy saved the 49ers because not through just his play on the field, but more importantly, the inept decision-making that John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan made. It cannot be underestimated. They took a chance on Trey Lance, and it flamed out badly. I mean, understand what I'm saying. Brock Purdy went from Mr. Irrelevant, 7th-round quarterback out of Iowa State to media darling and guy that had the 49ers in the NFC Championship game for 2 straight years and then in the Super Bowl. So it just kind of really expands on the point of what I'm saying. Just pay the guy. I know it's going to be hard. I know it's going to be a little weird. You're going to have to adjust and make some situations happen, but Kyle's got to live with his decisions. He paid some guys, a little bit more than what they probably were worth. He was very loyal in that regard, and we all understand that. But there's also a catch-22 to that, too. When you do that, then the roster gets older. Now you have to force young guys to kind of step in and play right away. So, weird situation in San Francisco, but I do think Brock Purdy's going to get his money. I highly doubt that that's going to take much longer than it needs to. Dallas, obviously, after acquiring George Pickens today, I'm pretty sure that the Micah Parsons contract is coming soon. As usual, Jerry likes to bullshit and, with this situation. Now, what I do find interesting, the reason why I'm bringing this up is Micah Parsons and George Pickens have the same agent, David Morgetta, who was the gentleman that Jerry Jones claimed that he doesn't know his name or doesn't need to know his name to deal with Micah in these negotiations. So interesting that, newly acquired receiver and, defensive edge rusher that he has on your team, star player, he just happens to be the agent for both. So we'll see how Jerry handles that. But I think Mike is going to get paid. It's just, this is the Cowboys. They drag shit out. It's going to take a while, but he's definitely going to get paid. Now, for a guy who I think won't get paid with his current team, that is Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson is still going through the bullshit with the Cincinnati Bengals. They just drafted edge rusher Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M. Kind of signaling, obviously with Sam Hubbard's retirement, kind of signaling they know that they got to get younger and possibly replace Hendrickson. I personally think the Bengals are going to try to do what they normally do, which is have a guy play that final year out on his deal. And then after that, good riddance. I think this is so fucked up. You got Trey Hendrickson, who has been a pillar for your team, a stalwart on your defense, on your defense, and you're treating them like shit because you want to be cheap. Everybody remembers the comments from the daughter, Mike Brown's daughter, where basically, he should just be happy with the privilege of playing football and just honor the contract. It's a weird situation in Cincinnati. I don't know what the fuck is going on, but it doesn't seem like Trey Hendrickson is going to get his money there. And that situation remains to be seen. Like I said, in my personal opinion, I think they're just going to drag it out and try to get him to play this final year out. If he plays, though, will be, something to keep an eye on. Going to the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins, as we know, much maligned Miami Dolphins this offseason. Past couple offseason losing star players that they drafted. Flamed out and missed the playoffs last year, having an 8-9 injury plague campaign. Not really the type of season that they really wanted or were expecting to have. However, it's even crazier now because, as you know, previously reported, Jalen Ramsey's on the trading block. They don't know if Tyreek Hill wants to be there or doesn't want to be there. And what's even crazier is Tyreek can actually get out of his contract after the season. So that's a little bit hinky. What the hell is Chris Greer going to do? I mean, this is just a crazy-ass situation where he did not prepare this team properly enough. He didn't draft properly enough. And I don't think he hasn't not drafted well. I think, obviously, if you look at the talent they've lost, that they've, homegrown talent that they've drafted, they can draft. It's not Chris Greer's acumen as far as drafting that I question. What I question, though, is his business prowess. I mean, you're signing guys to these long-term deals that haven't done shit. I mean, let's just go through the list. Tua, fucked up. Concussions, always injured. Waddle, fucked up. Back, always injured. When he's healthy, he's a beast, but stay injured. And Tyreek, I mean, we already just went over this, so I don't know. And then Jalen Ramsey, he might go back to the Rams. He could possibly go to another team. There's a couple, like 3 or 4 teams that's kind of bidding for him right now. So it's still early in the off season, so nothing needs to really get hammered out right now. No workouts or camps are done, especially for a guy like Ramsey's age. You're not really stressing that too much, so remains to be seen. But we will definitely be keeping an eye on Miami and what they plan on doing, not only with Jalen Ramsey, but with the current iteration of the 2025 Dolphins. Also, schedule release is coming out. Very happy to hear about this news. As an Eagles fan, already got the early news that we'll be playing the Thursday night of Week 1, which is customary for the Super Bowl champions. Yay. And essentially, we know that the Chargers will be playing a night game in Brazil, just like the Eagles did last year, playing the Packers. Looks like 7 international games, which is an NFL record, will take place this year. Brazil, London, Berlin, Madrid, and Ireland, which is all fantastic. Beautiful that the game's expanding like that. I definitely know for myself because, I got some fans in the UK. I love you guys. Fan base is expanding with the show, so I definitely see it. I think this is great. I think it's fantastic. I'm anxious to see the Eagles schedule. I do know from looking at it, a lot of their marquee matchups are the away games, which is kind of sucky. Like, they're going to have some, just because how the Eagles historically, their schedule plays out, they're going to have some good home games. But looking at the matchups as they are this year, and I'll reveal that on a clip here for you, but essentially it looks like a lot of their marquee matchups are away. So with Philly, we shall see. But with all the other NFL teams, I will definitely have the schedule release of information posted, and we'll definitely go over that once that drops. On to the tush push. It's already known that the commissioner and the league have low-key conspired to try to kill this move. I fully expect this move, this play to be, if not banned, tempered down a lot going into this coming season, which just fucking sucks. It fucking sucks. It's crazy that, you find something within the grid that operates and then they find a way to kind of sabotage it and get rid of it because they can't stop it. So, bullshit situation, but be that as it may, looks like the tush push is going to be going away. And last but not least, training camp will be starting for a lot of teams mid-July. Obviously, with the Hall of Fame game, which we also got the announcement on that, will be the Chargers versus the Detroit Lions. They will play each other in the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio on July 31st. So definitely looking forward to that. And then 5 weeks later, the NFL season kicks off. So very hype and very interesting to see. That's going to do it for this episode, guys. I love you guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day.